Um, Welcome all. My name is Damilola, and today I'll be taking the developer workshop. Just while we wait for every other person to join, or while we wait for more people to join, we can try to like introduce ourselves in the chat section. You can just introduce yourself, tell us where you're joining from, and tell us what you do. And myself and my colleague Andrew will be on the lookout to like also engage you while we do the introduction. We'll start probably around 2 maybe next 1 minute or 2 minutes, depending on the number of people that we see that joined the session. But feel free to like introduce yourself in the chat section, tell us where you're joining us from, and tell us what to do so we can engage you and know how to tailor the discussion along to your skill sets. Alrighty. Welcome, Matthew from Just. Do you mind also letting us know what you do? Israel, nice joining us from Akure. How is Akure these days? Like, hope the weather is nice. Hope you are enjoying yourself. Like, what's the tech space looking like these days, Israel? Um, Kenneth, software engineer, what do you do? Are you a backend? Are you a front end? Are you a mobile developer? Are you a systems engineer? It would be nice to also like have a little bit of information about it. But thank you for joining us today. And Olorun Muriwa, dialing from Lagos, Nigeria, backend. Nice joining you. You are going to enjoy this session a lot because a lot of some of the things we are going to be talking about is tailored to backend engineers. Sulaiman from Kobo 360, thank you for joining us. Um, Oh, David from South Africa, thank you for joining us as well. I'll be curious to really know what's. I'm guessing you are probably joining to like get a sense of what the conversation is about, but I also like to know how you're thinking of making use of Terminal because currently Terminal is just available in Nigeria, but I'd like to know more about your use case like later after the conversation. Thank you, Matthew, front-end developer, Kenneth, full stack, Jasper from SA as well, Android terminals in the past and mobile. Nice, thank you for joining us, Jasper. Victor as well, full stack engineer, product manager, QA, that's Muhyiddin. Abiodun, thank you for joining us, front-end developer. All right, I think I'm just going to start the session now so I can so I don't delay everybody so much. So my name is Damilola and I work with the developer experience team at Paystack. And with me on this call is Andrew. Andrew is also like on the developer relations team at Paystack here. While I give the conversation, Andrew will be helping out with questions, and when there are questions for me to vocalize, I can vocalize them. So just as a quick housekeeping, there are different tabs on the if you're joining from the desktop, there are different tabs. One for asking questions. If you need to ask question, please make use of the question tab because it helps us to um, handle it properly and don't use the chat for asking questions. Chat can be used to like have conversation, try to like link up with people. But when you need have questions about the conversation that we're having right now, please make use of the question tab. And if you also need to what's it called, there are also like reactions that you can make use of and all. At the end of the session the recording should be sent to everybody, so you can just take a relax, enjoy the conversation, and you can always listen to it as we move on. So into the session now. So this is building with Paystack Terminal. This is probably the second or third webinar we are having on Paystack Terminal now, but before now, we've been having conversations that are tailored mostly to merchants and not developers. Per se. When I mean merchant, I mean like businesses as a whole, and not like the developers in which who are actually going to build on the Paystack Terminal. So this conversation is going to be the first in a series of like building with the Paystack Terminal. Today is going to be still focused a little bit, like probably 20% on like business case for like the product managers that are on here, for like the CTOs that probably need to make a decisions. We just talk a little bit about business, and then we move into like the different integration flows that are more or less tailored to our developers. Okay, so what is the Paystack Terminal basically? So they are a lot of just like context or a background. There are multiple point of sale system out there now, what people call POSs in different parts of the world. Some people call it POS, some people call it terminal. People have different names. They call it, no, nobody calls it terminal. We're the only ones that call it terminal. So people mostly call it point of sale system. But at Paystack, we always try to like as a developer focused company, we always try to look at things from different ways, and we're looking, okay, how can we make terminal work better for businesses? How can we make terminal become something that developers are delighted to build on? And that was what's birthed our different take on the general concept known as point of sale system. So the Paystack Terminal is not just like an hardware; it's like a platform that enables developer to build like programmable in-person payment experiences. So the whole goal of our terminal is to change the current landscape of how in-payment experiences work in Nigeria, where, or particularly in Nigeria for now, before we now move into other region, where people always have to like, okay, my card is not working, can you take transfer? And then when you transfer, you have to wait a minute or like wait for 5 minutes. Luckily, if you're lucky, that's like 1 to 5 minutes. And if you're not lucky, they just hold you down there, and or like we would like to have changed this experience. And that's why, like, that's what birthed the Paystack Terminal. So let developers build like the experience they want for the customers or for the businesses. So the Paystack Terminal is like is a smart pick P1000 Android power payment device. Basically, this is just to let you know, like, have a sense of what makes this point of sale system or this payment device make it customizable, and how we're able to work with it to make it customizable for developers. So because it's Android powered, and we have like a nice looking hardware. For a start, it allows us to like try out different things and to expose things, APIs and functions that allow developers leverage both to like build the kind of experiences they want. So the custom payment experiences are possible because it's an Android powered device, so you can add Android applications to it, and we also expose APIs that you can use to like in like maybe your existing systems, and just like start the payments like on your system and complete it on the Paystack terminal. Okay, so for you to be able to understand the different things you can build with the Paystack Terminal, we need to like take a look at the hardware specification and the software specification. So just like how when you want to get a new gadget for the gadget freaks, or like people that are really particular about the kind of gadgets they get, you need to check out the hardware and you need to check out the software. So for programming as well, you also need to like be aware of the hardware that you are currently building upon, and the software you are using. So for the hardware, it's a 5-inch touchscreen device, so 5-inch like diagonally, and it's a 1280 by 720 display screen. It's also 5 megapixel autofocus. It has a 5 megapixel autofocus rear camera. The rear camera is majorly and maybe only for scanning barcodes and QR. Please, not for selfie. Don't have like the weird idea that you're going to make use of the terminal for selfies and all. So it's majorly for like scanning QR codes or like barcodes. It also has like a micro USB for connecting to your laptop, so you can install an application directly to you. But there's a caveat to that, which I will explain when we get to the software specification. It has basically 2 ports to allow you connect USB, and also like a port for charging. Then it has a 1 gig RAM and 8 gig RAM. This implies that the kind of application you can put on the Paystack terminal is a lightweight application. You can't put like a full-fledged like application that runs like say on a typical Android device that probably has like a 4 gig RAM, 8 gig RAM, or 16 gig RAM. So it's limited to like 1 gig RAM. So that means the application you have to build must be able to like run with a 1 gig RAM memory. So it's also a quad-core CPU, and like I said, with the rear camera, it has the 1D and 2D barcode recognition. It has a battery to like allow you charge and take it on the field for people that probably want to use this on the field, and it also has a charger definitely to charge in case you run out of battery. One thing that also makes this device stand out, like the Paystack Terminal standard, that it supports global SIM and Wi-Fi. So Wi-Fi is like, okay, once you are probably in like in a store, or maybe you run like a store, like a restaurant, you can connect it to your restaurant Wi-Fi. Alternatively, for people that probably run like a say a delivery business, or like a what's it called, field agent or things like that, there's a global SIM that switches between different providers. So whichever provider is strongest in the area, the SIM picks that provider and uses it to ensure that you can receive payments. Now to the software specification. So the Android, the Paystack Terminal is capped at Android 5.1.1. So that means any application you're going to build cannot make use of the features above Android 5.1.1. It also has the Paystack app on it. So the Paystack app is literally the application that handles the payments part of the terminal. So rather than just making the whole device like a payment device, we just have a particular app that handles payments. This allows you to also add your app, then to interact with our app to like build beautiful applications. And one more thing is, because we allow you build applications to like you build applications and add applications to your terminal, we also provide an app store. So the app store is similar to like the way we have the Google Play Store or like the Apple Play Store. So this is like our own environment where we manage different merchant application in order to ensure that the applications are only showing up on the devices that they should show up, and in order to ensure that only secured applications are pushed across to like those devices. So no support for Google Play services. Again, Google Play services because it's an Android device. We do not support Google Play services majorly for security reasons, and majorly because of the hardware limitations of, particularly for the soft security reasons, and also because of the limited hardware specifications. So basic OS features. So you can use the device for like making phone calls or like text messages. So we just provide the barest minimum OS features to allow you add applications and work with the different functions that we expose via the Paystack app. So now there is a debug version and a prod version of the Paystack app. So the debug version allows you, so if you remember when I said we have like a micro USB that allows you to connect the Paystack terminal directly to your laptop, this is only possible on a debug software. This is because on production, it's not security safe to like allow USB devices to be talking to like a payment or USB to be connecting USB cords to a payment device, because malicious actors can try to do funny things with it. So we provide a debug version of the software and provide a production version. So for the debug, you are able to like put in your USB. We unlock the USB feature so you can test your application. It's more or less like how we have like test mode and live mode. So in that test mode, you can add your application, you can test out in different ways, and do everything you want to do ahead of you putting it on production. One thing that is being worked on now is like an emulator. So you might not necessarily need to because the debug and production requires you to actually have the terminal, and the terminal is not free. You have to pay for it. So I know there are emulators. We have an emulator that is either being worked on or being tested like internally. It's already worked on, but I think it's being tested. It's either in alpha or beta stage. I know which will this will help developers a lot, because you don't necessarily have to have the hardware. You just tie it into your say the same way you have the Android emulator. You also use this directly from your laptop or device in which you are using to like build application. Okay, so it's basic understanding of like the hardware and software specification. Let's now discuss the different use cases of the terminal. The features of the terminal. So based on the available softwares and the hardware specification, the Paystack terminal allows you to receive payments in multiple channels. So this is one of the standard features that allows that provides like a very good experience for customers making use of the Paystack terminal. So it accepts cards, it accepts USSD, and it accepts bank transfer. And I'm sure we are working on more channels to add in order to ensure that no matter which channel is available at the customer is comfortable using, or the customer is able to use at that point, you're able to use it. So you're not restricted to just cards. For example, maybe when the cards, you forgot your card, or card is not working generally, you can use bank transfer, and you don't have to wait when you use bank transfer, because it's powered by the same technology that powers the Paystack checkout. So once your transfer is received on our end, we update the merchant, and the merchant can just deliver value to you. The other thing about one of the pain points again when it comes to the conventional or traditional point of sale system is end of day reconciliation. A lot of merchants always have to like keep a merchant's copy of the receipt for customer, and they always have to like map it to each of the lump sum transaction that they've received on their system. With the Paystack terminal, each transaction is a unique field on your Paystack dashboard. So you can literally go to your Paystack dashboard and you can see every transaction that has happened on a particular day. So you can filter by either the because the Paystack terminal can be used for just not just the terminal but also like other channels like web channels like cards, like dedicated accounts. So you can filter by the POS channel and you can see all the transactions that have happened on a particular day. Now, blazing fast transaction, because of our the ability to like connect to Wi-Fi and the ability to like and the availability of a global SIM, it's easy for you to like switch between different networks to like accept payments faster. Split payments. Split payments becomes very useful when you are running like a business model that allows you to interact with merchants, like a partner. So, for example, if I run a restaurant business that requires a delivery, a dispatch, myself and the dispatch can split the amount that the customer pays, maybe 80-20%. So with the Paystack terminal, you can split payments so that when the customer makes payment, the part that goes to the restaurant goes to the restaurant, and the part that goes to the dispatch goes to the dispatch. So yeah, one more thing, formal features. These are just like high-level features. Like in as much as you can imagine things, there are different things you can do with the Paystack terminal. So one other feature is like ability to build custom app on the terminal. So the terminal is like programmable. You can either harness APIs or you can use your Android application to like extend the features of the Paystack terminal. So in as much as you can think about the unique ways to like build in-person payments, you can do it with the Paystack terminal. So now, besides building custom application, some people already have existing systems. Stores generally have like their ERP system that they make use of. Large merchants or software as a company, software as a service companies already have like existing integration. So we meet you where you already are. Like you don't need to like do a general overhaul of your system. So if your existing ERP system exposes and allows you to customize, like consume APIs and like customize like API responses, you are able to like integrate the Paystack terminal into your ERP system. You can also receive your payouts anywhere because the Paystack terminal also leverages our dashboard. You can set the different accounts to receive your payments in from the Paystack dashboard, and we are going to settle you into the different into the accounts you decide you specify that we settle you into, and you can always change this payout account at your own convenience. So easy refunds. Again, this is still leveraging the dashboard. Once a transaction has been made and the customer has a complaint and you need to refund, all you need to do is check out, go to the dashboard or the Paystack mobile app, check that transaction, and you can initiate a refund directly from the dashboard. Okay, so with our understanding of the features or like the explanation with the features, software specification and hardware specification, we can now look into different use cases that the Paystack terminal can be used for. These are just like to just what's it called? Spark our imagination. These are not like this is not an exhaustive list. It's just like some that we can just pick to like drive the points that what you can do with the Paystack terminal is limitless. So the first one is data collection. So I'm sure a lot of people have probably interacted with, say, merchants that require you to like, get your detail, confirm your detail before making payment. I think one good example here is schools. So schools, sometimes maybe you need to make your fees, your school fees, or you have like maybe hospitals that require you to like, get your detail, like to confirm the maybe test or something you want to carry out. This is data collection. So you can build a custom app or like with your existing application, you can integrate such that you can collect data at the point of payments, confirm what needs, the amount that needs to be paid on your system, and show the amount to the customer, and the customer can just make payments. We also have ticketing. Tix Africa last year had an event that required them to like build an application, and they used the Paystack terminal to like build this. They built the application on React Native, and they were able to like accept payment for the events in which they were holding. So if you have like events that you want to an event that requires generally most events requires tickets, but once you have events that requires ticket or something like that, you can use the Paystack terminal to like receive payment either on site, or you can also do it on the web. So whichever one, your imagination is just the limit, or like your use case here determines how you go about it. Now, data verification as well. So one use case for data verification is like some people might have created, say maybe like their maybe they've created maybe like an appointment, and at the point of or like they've made different lists. Maybe some restaurants run a model where you can maybe book ahead, or like make reservation. So at the point where you now get to the restaurant, one thing you can do with terminal is, okay, get maybe the unique code you sent to the customer, put it in, and you're able to see the person, what the person, maybe the table the person has specified, or if it's a product-based item, like maybe you need to order like new set of like furniture or things like that. Once the order has been made, at the point of delivery, you can put in maybe your unique code, you check, and you see the amount the person is supposed to pay. So data verification, anything that requires data verification can also be built on the terminal. Parking lots, a lot of parking lots are make use of heavily cash-based, and particularly in Nigeria. So rather than limiting yourself to like that same cash-based ecosystem, you can use the terminal to like receive payments either via transfer or via card or USSD or any other channels that are available. Bill payments, this includes like electricity or like waste bin or things like that. You can also build an application that powers bill payments using with the terminal. The point of sale, this is the generic one that everybody is used to, where you walk into a store, you walk into a restaurant, different things like that, and you make your payment. So you can connect your point of sale system to the terminal such that when each line item has been scanned on the point of sale system, at the point of payment, rather than the cashier having to like type in the amount manually on the terminal, you can just click make payment on your point of sale system, and it pushes that thing, the line items or the inventory, to the terminal. The terminal calculates the total, displays it to the customer, and the customer can make a payment. Vending machines, basically like vending machines or like hardwares in general, they can be used with the terminal as well. One use case here is like Burger King. Burger King made use of our terminal at the point when they are trying to launch their self-service skills in Nigeria. So basically, they just have their self-service skill where a customer can walk in, select the different items they want to, the different food items they want to buy. At the point of payment, the payment is pushed from that self-service skills to the terminal. The customer puts in their card, make payments, and complete their transactions, and then just go walk up to the front desk to pick up their meal. And this is just like a few, like I said, there are multiple use cases that you can use to the terminal on. I think I will stop here for a bit to answer some questions. We'll start with Andrew. Can you pick up the okay, I think I'll pick it up from my end. Okay, so everyone can see it. I'll be answering these questions. That's live answer. Okay, is the terminal NFC enabled? If you see the picture on my screen right now, you will realize that there's a Wi-Fi kind of signal on the terminal. So yes, the terminal is NFC enabled. However, the NFC landscape in Nigeria is still nascent. It's still early. Most of the people that can process NFC what's it called, payments are still in the building phase, more or less. So it's still not something that is generally available. But we are working to ensure that we can also make this like we're working with different partners to see how this can be made available as quickly as possible. So yes, is NFC available? It's just a matter, is NFC enabled? It's not NFC enabled, it's NFC. It supports NFC, but it's not yet enabled. We just need the rails to be able to like process the NFC payment, because the NFC payment comes in as an encrypted what's it called now, message. So the partners that can process this encrypted message and like run it are currently still limited in Nigeria. But yes, it's NFC, it supports NFC, but it's currently not NFC enabled. I hope that answers your question. Okay. Next question I'm going to pick. Thank you, Morgan, for asking that question. Next question I'm going to pick is from Adi Dotun, which says, what language is the terminal backend built on? I think it's JavaScript. So a terminal backend is just like it's still riding on our API, which is built on majorly JavaScript. JavaScript, TypeScript. So I hope that answers. I don't know how else to answer that, but yeah, it's majorly built on TypeScript, JavaScript, just like our other APIs. I'm curious though, like why are you asking that question? Is this something that requires if you want further clarification or something, maybe you can ask that question instead. Okay, next question is from, I don't know, DOG, but this question is quite long, so I'll just pick it on a time. Okay, so will the Paystack Terminal have a model that will have at least 2 gig of RAM or more in future? This is still the first version of this is the first hardware of our terminal. So while I don't want to promise, but it's something we are looking into, because definitely the 1 gig RAM is so small, and we've gotten a couple of use cases that require probably more of the RAM. But definitely once this is available, we are going to update our the terminal sites, which we'll share later, that will show you like the different hardwares that are available, and the ones that support the ones that have more RAM in the future. Okay, so does the device have an inbuilt camera that can be used to scan barcode? Yes, I'm guessing you probably joined maybe some few minutes late, but when I was discussing the hardware specification, yes, it has a built-in rear camera that allows you to scan QR codes, and which is one of the use cases that we're going to talk about soon. So how does a developer publish their app on the custom app Paystack App Store? So we provide a link in which you share your application, you upload your application to, and you more or less like after going through like this basic security check, we have to handle security checks on applications submitted to us. So once you submit your application to us, like via the link available is on our documentation if you check the custom app page, but we'll share this during the course of this workshop. You submit your application, we review your application. Once it passes our security check, we push the application to all your terminal devices, and that should then show up on the devices that you have. And if you want us to deactivate on a particular device, we can also do it. But in such a case, we have a direct channel, like a support channel that we have with such people that want to like publish their app. So you work with my team and like the product team or some people from the product team, and we're able to help you publish the application. Okay, I'll pick the next question. Okay, start. Okay, how do I build this question from Kodri Sikiru? How do I build a custom app on the terminal using React Native? Java and Kotlin was in the doc. So Kodri, this is probably like a little bit of oversight from our end. I mean, like if you it's more or less like the sample application for this is available. This was one of the things that we came up with late last year, and we've not just had the opportunity to like put it on the documentation, but it's something that we'll add on the documentation, how to like build custom app with React Native. Majorly, you are going to write on the Android native React Native modules, and you then one way or the other, you still have to write Java and Kotlin, because the Android React Native module allows you to like interface JavaScript, bridge the gap between JavaScript and Java or Kotlin. So literally, you still have to write the Java code using what's it called, the React Native modules. Then the React Native module then has a bridge that allows JavaScript to communicate with the compiled version of Java or Kotlin. So we'll update the documentation to show this, and you should be able to like build your application with React Native and still leverage all the features of the terminal. Okay, I'm going to pick Kisling's question. What IDE can be used to put an application in a Paystack terminal? I'm not sure I understand your question. What IDE can be used to put an application in Paystack terminal? An IDE is basically, like, my understanding of IDE is like what you use in building your application. So any IDE that you are familiar with is used. You can use it to build the application. But when you say put an application in Paystack terminal, I'm guessing you are talking about custom forms, custom apps. So custom app is like the Android Studio. You can use Android Studio to build your custom application. And if you're using React Native, you should use maybe VS Code or any other IDE you are familiar with. Okay, how can I make my Salasi? Sulaiman, sorry. How can I make my Paystack mode to start to accept payments? If you have a terminal, you just need to have the production terminal. You're able to like accept real-time payments. I need that's not your question. Probably try to add more context to it. Okay. I'll just continue and I'll pick more questions as we go on, because some of the questions are also in line with the things we are going to discuss further. Okay, so having considered the use cases, let's now talk about the different integration flows. So one thing we considered when building the terminal is to be able to like provide the different developers with different experience levels and the ability to be able to like leverage the terminal. So we consider people that have no code experience, or like organizations too that probably don't really necessarily have the ability to like employ developers and don't need developers to be able to like run their businesses. We have the no code version. We have the no code way of integrating into the terminal. We also have the ones where you have some code, you make use of some code, and the one where you actually have to build like real code. So we'll just talk about them briefly, and we'll talk on this page, and then we'll now look into some of them in depth, like as we go on. So native Paystack invoices. So 3 out of these 3 integration flows make use of the Paystack payment request or like invoice feature. So the first one is the no-code version, where you literally go to the Paystack dashboard, you create an invoice, that invoice is sent to the customer. So at the point where you want to like deliver value to the customer, you just get the invoice number and you put it onto the terminal, and the payment is processed, and that's it. You don't need to like have a code. You just need to like create the invoice and send it to the customer. At point of payment, the customer, you just put in the code, and the customer is able to like make payments for that. And the next one is like, rather than you building that using the dashboard to like create invoices, you use API. So this one you need a backend experience. So you consume the Paystack payment request API. Then once you consume that API, when you get the response for a successful creation of the invoice, you can either send the invoice code to the customer as a text message. So different people have different ways in which they handle all this. So you can either send it as a text message, or you can convert that code to a QR. You can convert the invoice code to a QR code that can be scanned at the point of payment. And scanning prevents what's it called, manual input error. So we are actually advocates for you to like convert it to like QR codes. But in this case, it's still leveraging the invoice, but using API. And the next one takes it a step further. So when the invoices are created, we have endpoints that you can use to push an invoice to a particular terminal. So this is also like still from your backend. So this is for your backend, but this case you use more endpoints to like drive your integration. And finally, custom apps. So custom apps is one where you build your native Android application. So I'll go into each of these some more, and we can then ask, if you have questions, we can ask and we can answer them. So like I said, the native invoices, literally, you don't need any code. You just make use of the Paystack dashboard. You go to the Paystack dashboard, you create your invoice, and the invoice is sent to the customer. You can't customize in this kind of flow. It's just for like, it's mainly for like companies that are large enterprise companies that are heavily cash based, or a company that is maybe like a small, maybe like a store that they don't necessarily want to invest in technology, like, or pay for like different technology. So they basically just go to the Paystack dashboard. They create the invoice and send the invoice to the customer. So when they're about to like make delivery or like make give value to the customer, they get the invoice code, put it into the terminal, and then the payment is made. So I'll see if I can I'll do a demo on this on the Paystack dashboard after discussing the other integration flows. Actually, let me just do it now. Okay, so going to the Paystack dashboard, we have, for people that want to use this kind of flow, once you log into the Paystack dashboard, you can go to the invoices tab, basically, and you can click on request a payment. So you can decide to create a professional invoice, or you can decide to create a simple invoice. So I'll just use a simple invoice for the purpose of this. So create a simple invoice, workshop at test.com. Please use a real email address if you need to, if you want an email to be sent to the customer. So I can just put an amount here, 2,000 naira. I can add a note for furniture. Furniture. Okay, so once you click on send, this is created, and it confirms you're about to send, you're about to request 2,000 naira from workshop. All good, and you confirm that. So on clicking on send request, we send the request to the customer, and the customer gets an email address. The customer gets an email. So when I said there's a particular code that you need, so this is the code that you literally need at the point of payment, the offline reference. So at the point of payment, you can just put this offline reference on there's a form field on the terminal. I'll see if I can, I don't have it to set up camera, but during the course of this series, when we're going to set up fully, we have a setup that allows us to like show like the terminal like from top down, so you can see all this better. So but this is what you put, the offline reference is what you type in into the terminal. It displays this information like the 2,000 naira and everything on the terminal, and then the customer can then make payment for this. When payment is successful, it changes from pending, of course, to success. So that's the same thing. So I'm also going to come back here later on to talk more about like the offline reference, as we're also going to use it for like in invoice payment, and also like for push notification. But that's basically it for native invoices. So you literally just go to the dashboard, you create the invoice, and you send it, and we send the email to the customer. So at the point of payment, you just get their the offline reference, and you're able to accept payments. Okay, so for invoice payments, this is like an example of like a QR code that we said we can create using the offline reference. So it requires a developer with API knowledge. So basically, you need to consume the Paystack payment request endpoint. At the point of once you consume that, once you get your response that the payment request has been created, you can either convert that offline reference to a QR code like this, or you can send the offline reference directly as a text to the customer. So the QR code, let me see if I can just make a quick example here. So there's a QR code scanner here. When this is not going to be the smoothest what's it called, demo, but later on we're going to have a more session that will talk about each of these integrations, and we can have more questions for people that will probably be particular. So there's a QR code scanner at the back. Currently the screen is just like a blank page, and I'm sorry about this experience, but we just have to work with this for now. So when I click on the invoice payments, it shows this page that allows me to like scan like my screen. So once I scan the screen, okay. It's on the day of demo that screen, like this thing doesn't work. I'll just try again. So I click on the invoice payment again. But this is not scanning now. I have to enter it manually. But for reasons like this, we have the enter the reference manually. I'll see if I can get this up to work again or something later. But basically, once you scan, it shows the invoice detail on the screen. And like I said, like in subsequent, the next workshop, we're going to like have like a full setup that allows you to see this. Like as I'm talking, you also see the terminal screen. So in this case, what happens is that this use case is suitable for most people around like a pay on delivery model. So these are the people that you make an order, particularly say like the likes of Jumia, the likes of Chowdeck, people that have like restaurants where you can order food from restaurant, and at the point of payment, they can scan this QR code. It loads up your details, and you're able to make payments for that item that you purchased or whatever you've ordered. It's also suitable for businesses that allow customers to walk in to complete their service. So hospitals, for example, or schools. We've seen a couple of schools reach out to us, or like probably are currently using this. That sometimes maybe students could be funny, maybe they embezzle their parents' school fees for other things. So the parents would rather come and make the school fees at the school themselves. So what can happen is the school typically sends like the invoice code to the customer and to the parents, and when the parents come in, they can scan this and they can use complete the payment on the spot. Okay, so before I proceed, because the other two integrations, the other two flows are more intensive. So let's just answer some questions. So I didn't answer Abiodun's question the other time. Okay, starts. How heavy is the cost implication in the case where we intend to push a custom application on the terminal, or is it free? When you say how heavy is the cost implication, if you are referring to getting the terminal, you have to pay for the terminal. The terminal is not free, but depending on your on the organization, we have like different pricing, or like we are flexible with the pricing depending on your business. So in terms of putting your application on pushing a custom application on the terminal, it's free. We don't charge you for putting your application on the terminal. Like, you just need to upload your application on the form we provide, and once the application is uploaded, we review for security checks and we push it to across all your devices. So we don't charge for pushing application to the terminal. I hope that answers your question, Abiodun. Okay, Morgan. One of the solutions I'm building for the terminal requires us to use an NFC enabled loyalty card, which I want to process when the customer taps their loyalty card on the terminal, adds a point to their cards, and use their card before direction to the reason, and use their, okay, I think I understand your question. Basically, you just want to tap on the terminal to pay an NFC. So Morgan, if I'm correct, you are currently in South Africa. So to answer your question, we currently don't have this in South Africa, but yeah, we know one of the things in South Africa, once we're going to launch for South Africa, is more what's it called? It's a more say developed ecosystem in terms of NFC. So when we're going to launch this in South Africa, this is definitely one of the things we're also looking at to like launch out with. But for the Nigerian merchant, like I said, NFC is supported on the terminal, but we're currently looking at partners to work with that can process NFC, the NFC message format. So at the moment, it's supported, but it's not enabled. But we're working actively. But if you have if you want, if your business revolves around building NFC, you can reach out to us and we can probably discuss more about either a workaround for this, or let you know when NFC is now enabled across all devices. Okay, I'm going to answer. Okay, Morgan asked 2 questions. Okay, I think I've answered this. Yeah, okay, I think I've answered this as well. Okay, Kisling. Can a QR code payment from phone to phone be achieved? Like, I mean, how Zenda is, but then after the QR code is scanned, there will be a payment. I'm not sure I understand clearly. Can a QR code payment from phone to phone be achieved? You might, if you can add more details to that, Kisling. So are you trying to say like you push a payment from, like the way you push applications from, say, Zenda, like how you share application of files from Zenda to Zenda? Can you also like achieve it for QR code? This is I don't know if it's the way you're saying it, but one thing we do is that one integration flow we provide, which is the next one I'm going to talk about now, is how you can actually push a particular invoice more or less from your say point of sale system, from your ERP system to the terminal. So we provide an API for that where you're able to like push. But if you are referring to is it like the way there's is it Android nearby or something where you just like maybe put 2 devices together? That's not possible. But we provide an endpoint that you can use to push, like, say, a payment request to the terminal, and that payment request just loads up. That's the Burger King use case. I'll see if I can show the video like briefly before we end the session. Okay. Next question from. Okay, hello. Is the terminal also suitable for people in unbanked areas? Yes, this is a very good question. And yes, and the first integration flow we mentioned, which is the native invoices, it's very, in fact, like is the like we are trying to like bring the unbanked into this ecosystem with the Paystack terminal, because one of the use cases, like we said, is like for like field agents. So people that are run like a kind of say you run bill payments, like people come to you to come and pay for to come and top up for their electricity. This is a very good use case for you, because literally you can just either build your application, or you have like maybe their meter ID, like an application that takes their meter ID, takes the different details, and you can just put it in. It calculates the total they're supposed to pay. They make the payment, and you can then disburse their units to them. I'll talk more about this when we get to the custom app use case. But yes, this is also suitable for people in the unbanked areas. Okay, so next question. Do you use API or SDK for the POS terminal integration? It's majorly API based for three of the payments, for two of the integration flows. So for invoice payment, it's API based. For push payment request, is also API based. For the custom app, integration flow, we make use of intent. So you just build your Java application and you talk to the Paystack app using Android intent. Android intent is more or less like the way you have APIs for backend. It's the same way you have APIs for application to application communication. I'll talk more about this once we get to the custom application flow. Okay, the next one is push payment request. So push payment request takes it a step further. Okay, so you've created your invoice using API. Now, say you have like an ERP system, or say like you walk into a store that allows you to like make payments. A store that scans the different items you've bought, and it arranges everything at the point of payment. You want to just take what has been scanned, like the total item, all items and the total amount. You want to push it to the terminal as opposed to you having to type it manually. This is what the push payment request does. So we have an endpoint that we provide that allows you to push a particular payment request or like invoice to the terminal, a particular terminal. So this is useful when you have like existing integrations as well. So you probably have like an integration, say the way we have stores that have inventory management, the way we have restaurants that have like a list they use to managing all their items and things like that. So anything like, or if you have like a self-serving model, like I said, Burger King model, I'll bring up the video just before we end this conversation. So literally you can just select everything you want. You don't want to really interact with the customer. Everything just gets pushed to the terminal. The payment gets pushed to the terminal. We load out the payments. We show you the different payment option, and you're able to like make payments. So just as a quick recap, the native invoice is from the dashboard, immediately dashboard. The invoice payment, use the API to create the invoice, and then you can convert the invoice code to like offline reference to like a QR code, or you send it as a text message or as an email to your customer. Now, to take it a step further, the push payment request lets you push that invoice to the terminal directly without having to do any manual entry. And finally, okay, yeah. So let's just explain the payment push payment request flow again. So the integration starts, the process starts with your customer. So your customer interacts with your application to like order an item. Once the customer selects the item, the order detail is pushed to your server, more or less. So once that payments, the order details get to your server, what you do is you then send that the payment request, the order as a payment request to us. Our payment request is used for building invoices. And when I showed you the dashboard, when you saw a professional invoice or simple invoice, this is these two forms of invoices allows you to like create an invoice that either you just pass in the total amount to us, or you pass in all the line items and we calculate the total amount. So whichever one you decide to do, you just do this on your server and you send the request to us. Once we create the payment request, you send you a response. Once you get the response from the payment request, basically this is like it contains the invoice ID and it contains the offline reference. You send that offline reference and the invoice ID, you send it to us again using the terminal /event endpoint. Once we receive this request, we process that event and we push it to the particular terminal. As you can see, like we have terminal and then the ID. So this is the ID of the particular terminal. One thing I think I've not mentioned is that each terminal comes with its own ID and a serial number. So you use the ID of that terminal to push like that payment request to us. And once we get that request, we then push it to that particular terminal, which is like this, the fifth step in this flow. So on pushing it to the terminal, the customer literally sees like the invoice on the terminal page. So once the customer sees that, they're able to make payments. They make payments. We process the payments. Once we are done processing the payments, we send you a notification via webhooks to tell you if the payment was successful or the payment wasn't successful. Once it's successful, you can process that and can push it to your application to update your application that yes, payment successful, and then the customer can end that flow. So one thing to note about this is that you make use of two endpoints in this flow as opposed to just one endpoint in the invoice payments, and you always need to listen to webhooks in this because that's the only way we can communicate with you, because the transaction, you can see that the payment is being the customer is the one starting the payment, so there's no way for you to be pulling. If you're going to start pulling for that transaction, you're just going to overwhelm your system, and you're also going to like risk the chance of being rate limited on our end. So we use webhooks to like push notification to you, and then you can then update your system once you get the webhook notification. So finally, the customer flow. So the customer flow, like I said, requires both like the mobile engineer and the backend engineer. This is the most intensive of all flows. You can either build the application using native Java Kotlin, or you can use React Native. We are looking to see how we can also do this. I believe we should also be able to do this in Flutter, but once we have like available sample applications and like flows for like the hybrid version, we provide that on the documentation. For now, we have just Java and Kotlin on our documentation. So the way it works is like, just like I said previously, how two servers interact with each other. One of the ways two servers interact with each other is via API. So when it comes to application interaction, like if you remember our software specification, we have the Paystack Android app on the terminal. So the Paystack Android app exposes some intents. So the intents are more or less like APIs in the mobile world that your application can call, or your application can send events to say, oh, I'm ready to make payments. Please process this particular amount of payments. So once we receive that, we open up the opens up the Paystack application with the amount to be paid, and the customer makes payment, and then we update your application back with intent to tell you if it's successful or not. So one unique thing about this customer flow is that it allows you to customize the receipt. So, and I think this is one of the major selling points, and what answers the questions that was asked about the unbank. So you can customize the Paystack receipt by adding extra details that should be printed alongside the other information about your payment. So for example, if you disburse say power token, like when payment has been made, you can add that power token to that receipt, and the person is able to just take that the payment receipt alongside with their token, and once they get home, they're able to like use their power token. You can also use it for like events, like maybe you want it to be like a proof of payments at an event. You can add a QR code to it. Yes, you can add a QR code to the receipt. You can add like custom text to the receipt. You can see that I have a note there that says customization is limited. This is because we are still trying to fine-tune the amount of data that can be passed to the receipt to as extra data. So for now, it's an image and a single line of text. One way people have used that single line of text is by using like line breaks and all to like break the line of text to like make it look like in a formatted way. We are looking to like improve that to ensure like customization of receipts data is actually really nice for developers. And yeah, this is suitable for like power distro, field agents, events, ticketing. Like literally, this custom app is one of the ones that a lot of developers will really like enjoy using, especially if you're like if you build mobile application. There's another one that is on our documentation called custom forms that is also like intensive in terms of development, but it's also suited for backend developer. So it's like you doing the same way you have forms on like a mobile application, you can build forms with your API. This still requires a lot of hand holding, and we're trying to fine tune this before we make it publicly available to everyone. And that is it with all the integration flows. So as a summary, the terminal is like a platform for building in-person payments. Like we don't just see it as an hardware for like applications. We see it as a platform for like building in-person payments. It supports various integration flow, and we're also looking at different ways to make this even better. It's developer focused and suitable for all businesses and all organizations. So I'll answer more questions. If you're going to, Andrew, can you please put the link to documentation so if people want to like take a look while I answer questions. Okay, Jasper says, I assume developers will get access to debug devices. If this is the case, are they available already? Oh yes, developers will get access to debug devices. So it is dependent on your company. So debug devices are available, and there's also like, and I know we're working on maybe before the next series, the emulator will be available to use. But I know there's also an emulator that doesn't necessarily require you to use a debug device, so you can run your application in that emulator and test everything. We provide mock receipts because majorly is that receipt a lot of people want to try out. So we provide mock receipts, we provide tests cards, test USSD to allow you to just test the flow, and you're able to do this. But yes, debug devices are available on request as well. Could you highlight which services are available on a testing account? I tried some endpoints and was receiving a 411 response despite my case. Yes, the push to terminal event, all the terminal endpoints are currently available on production and not on test. Sorry for that. Do you have a test terminal assigned to your integration? Oh, okay. Yeah, I think all the terminal endpoints are currently available on. Andrew has already answered this question. Okay, I think Andrew has answered most of these questions, so I think I'll just leave them. I'll answer the ones that have not been answered. I just realized that he has answered. Okay. Once an application has been deployed to devices, is there a limit to the number of updates that can be made per month? No, there are no limits to the number of updates that can be made. Literally, just give us the new APK and we upload it for you, and that's all. The only thing is just to send us the APK, and once you receive it, we re-upload it to your the Paystack app store, and all your devices gets the update. So there are no limits to the updates that are made. Okay, so I guess that is it. This was quite a lot to take in, and there are a lot of things that we still need to discuss further as time goes on. Okay, I've seen another question. Morgan, it typically takes us 24 to 48 hours to review the application, your application. This is majorly dependent on, we ask you to carry out your security test first, but in terms of like the security check, it takes 24 to 48 hours. One caveat to this is we have a lot of, when you say approve, one caveat to approval is like if there are security issues that we notice, of course, we have to send it back to you. Okay, please fix this. We'll do that. But if there are no security issues, within 24 to 48 hours, your application would have been approved and it will be available across all devices. Okay, so yeah, like we can see, like based on the questions we've gotten so far, it seems there are a lot of areas that we still need to touch. So, and like I mentioned in at the beginning of the webinar, this is just the first of the series, like an overview. So in the next workshop, we're going to look into like hands-on walkthrough of building this actual application. And in that webinar, we're going to have like a way where we can see the terminal directly. As you're seeing, you can also see what is happening on the terminal. And we'll try to build that way in which you can ask questions, you can see how things are being built, and you can then have clarity on how to go about it. So if you have more questions, we can still take them. But if you don't have more questions, you can just go to our you can go to the Paystack. Can you please share the documentation link? Go to the Paystack Terminal documentation. You can review it. You can also go to our GitHub OSS where we already have sample application for the Burger King demo that I mentioned. Let me see if I can show that briefly. Sample restaurant. Yeah. So we have this sample restaurant application that was built that literally once you make a payment, you select everything. At the point of payment, when you click checkout, it sends it to the terminal. And this is the push payment request terminal. So this application is available on our Paystack OSS repository. So you can go there, check it out. So you can check Paystack OSS. You can see the application there. You can deploy it to like test out and see how it works. But in the next session, we'll be talking more. We have more hands-on integration conversation, and we can get to answer more technical questions. Thank you very much. I'll answer Kenneth's question, and then we can end the session. Okay. Final question for the day: can my custom app be open to others? Will there be a marketplace? Good question. So this is also something that this is why we manage the app store. It's something that we are looking into to make your app available to like the public. So this is dependent on of course it's dependent on security, and this is also dependent on how you want your application to be widely used. So, but it's something we are considering at the moment. It's not an available feature, but it's something we are looking into, like having a marketplace for application. And this is one of the selling points of the Paystack terminal. Okay. Final one now. Final. From Kisling says, can Flutter language be used for developing? Yes, I believe Flutter can be used for developing as well. I've not taken a look at how this will work, but since we've been able to achieve it with React Native, it's definitely possible with Flutter as well. So the next set of code snippets we're going to add on our documentation is going to be for React Native and Flutter. So once this is there, it will be available and you can then build with Flutter as well. Okay, over to you, Andrew.
Great. Thank you very much, Damilola, for taking us through all of that. Thank you for the demos. Thank you for answering the questions very well. I think now we are more clear on what Terminal is and what we can do. I just wanted to let people know that we also have developer office hours happening tomorrow. And so you can come in, ask your questions, and we will help answer. We'll also discuss, we'll help answer them. I've just dropped the link to the office hours in the chat. So I saw a few questions asking around webhooks and looking for video tutorials. Please come join us tomorrow. We will help you figure out any issues you're having with integrating Paystack. For now, if you have any interest in joining the terminal pilot, or would like the team to reach out to you and find out more about, and teach you more about Paystack Terminal, I've just dropped a form there, a link to a Google form where you will submit a few details about yourself, and then the terminal team will reach out um, and provide guidance. Um, that's it from us. Thank you very, very much for joining us. We don't have any other questions. Any last chance for any questions? In that case, I'm seeing Chika is typing. Maybe Chika, you can drop your question at the office hours tomorrow. For now, we say thank you very much. Have a great evening. Bye bye. Take care.